If you're looking for case studies of AR design, then keep on watching. Hi, I'm Alexis Mercedes, the project manager of Fractal Labs. We are an app development team that is passionate about improving the UX of XR. If your Web3 project needs a user interface, then we are available to you. In this video, I combed through the recent tab of the Over mobile app, looking for the best practices in AR design, optimizing for user experience. What you see is screen recordings from my iPhone, augmenting my apartment through a variety of user-generated publications in Over the Reality. To augment your space with these environmental overlays, download the free Over app on mobile, and then click on any of the links below. Without further ado, let's jump into the AR. Tag Lab Meeting by oliasstudio. It's chaotic, it's super fun. There are a wide variety of models demonstrating lots of different things that can be done with this technology. The audio track is really long. On the opposite end of the spectrum, you could have audio tracks that are overly repetitive. It's reminding me that the length of the audio indicates to the user how long they should be in that space. This long audio track tells me that I should hang out for a while. Some of the models are placed in an arrangement that makes them kind of hard to view. I think the best use case for this publication is a demo of how 3D models can be displayed in AR. Ellie, Forever Family, Forever Friend by G. Allan Walker. I saw this one on Twitter ahead of time and found it really exciting. It's made by a friend of mine, and the purpose was to create a book that is experienced in AR. It took a while to orient myself in here because the models were flickering. Because it was vanishing behind the objects in my room, I realized that it was an occlusion issue. If I had been in a big open space, it would have worked and I could have left occlusion on. But since I was in an apartment, I turned it off and everything worked out a lot better. We might have to start giving users instructions on whether or not they should have occlusion on. As designers, we can also take control of the situation by choosing which objects specifically we'd like to have the occlusion function. This is something really nuanced and for us to keep playing with as builders. At first, I didn't realize why the rocks were obscuring my view so aggressively until I started following the little footprints. And voila, everything made sense. Those rocks blocked my view until I was on path. And once I was on path, it was just the right amount of challenging to stay there. This is an example of excellent visual instructions between the arrows and the directionality of the paw prints. If I got turned around, I could see which direction the little paw prints wanted me to go. So I knew I was going the right way. And the arrows reinforced that information without feeling redundant. The arrows more so told me where to point my attention. I had a lot of fun following the path and reading the storybook. This is a great opportunity to add in a call to action. Now that I've read this story and connected with Ellie, what do you want me to do? There's probably an NFT call to action in here somewhere. I just didn't find it. But if you are a lover of pups and this is a cause after your own heart, I do know about Planet Mutt, which is an NFT project that donates to no-kill shelters. Lugares Eleazar by Zinko. This one is like a book that's been reimagined into the metaverse, a lot like the last one. These two experiences answer the question, what does a book look like in Web3? What is the future of publication? Edits need to be made to the light box because some of the walls are washed out by a glare that's bouncing off the white surface. So they could darken or texturize the surface of the models, or they can redirect the direction of the lighting in the environment, change the color of the lighting. Something can be changed here. The fact that I'm seeing a glare though is actually cool to me because it's like IRL. Such a real world problem, you know? There's an easy fix to these flashing images. This happens whenever there's two objects occupying the exact same space. So if you move one a teeny tiny bit forward or backward on that axis, it'll resolve easy. It makes sense that there's no sound here. Not every experience needs a soundtrack. This isn't optimized by like the most easy way to use a glossary, but instead of optimizing for efficiency, they've optimized for coolness. And this is definitely the coolest way I've seen a list of terms. Whenever you see my screen bouncing a little bit like that, it's because I'm trying to tap on the objects to see if there's a collider. In this experience, I couldn't find any, and that's a missed opportunity. Like, why not attach it to the book itself? Link this to the book, please. Also by Zinko, we have TIMEME METABALDEANDE. I am genuinely a big fan of this. I like the concept of the collection. They've captured moments in time as memes using a mix of nostalgic and political imagery. If I had to name this styling, I'd call it future punk. In the renaissance of glitch art, this fits right in. This collection obviously wasn't created for Over. It's a pre-existing collection that someone was able to display easily in AR using a template from Over. I've seen this exact same template of a gallery used many, many times, but I think this might be the most effective use I've seen so far. Every single inch is utilized, and they've placed images on the external walls as well. It's cohesive and it links to OpenSea. Here is where I learned what turning off walk mode does. With walk mode turned off, the only way to travel through the space is by tapping the floor and progressing forward. I'll demo it for you right here. I'm walking across the floor from one room to another in my apartment, but my avatar is not making any progress within the AR environment. Oh, and look, a book again. That's how you know the metaverse is just a bunch of boomers in front of a screen. JK, JK, JK. The Rig by xyzlb. The thumbnail on this one was really promising. This purple obtrusion is really cool looking to me. When it loaded, I realized I was in the same gallery template as the last build. But as you can see, they have found ways to completely transform it. It feels foreign. The scaling needs to be finessed here. Most views are obstructed by some wall or another, and it was hard to move outside of the building to view the tree. Normally in a small space, I don't have that problem because I can tap on the floor and my avatar will progress forward. And I can travel large distances even when I'm in a physically small space. However, the collider boxes in this one were so frequent that every time I tried to use the transport function, I was taken out of the app into a link. So in this case, the links were really getting in the way. The audio here was a great choice. Rather than music, we get birds and ocean waves in a loop that is long enough that it's not grating at all. The art itself really resonates with me. It's a little peculiar, a little creepy, but overall very familiar, and I'm here for it. Rumi Solar INICIO by Paul Ramon, 1988. I'm so excited to see returning publications from this museum. This is obviously not a gallery showing off art for sale. It is an exhibition for artistic or historical purposes. Being a curator of a museum is very expensive until AR came around. Now we can create exhibits for very affordable prices. On its own, this publication is underwhelming because it has INICIO in the title. I thought it might be the first publication in a web, which would be a cool way to organize an AR art exhibit. I can think of a few options on how to connect those types of publications with one another. You could use co-location, so they're just literally right next to each other. For this one, there weren't any adjacent publications. You could also link things together through collider boxes, but I couldn't find any links. It would also be cool to find connecting experiences by landowner, but Over doesn't allow for that quite yet. Consistency is important. They have my attention because this branding keeps showing up. The topic, pre-Columbian artifacts, is very interesting. These models in particular are really cool looking, but it looks like they put Hilary Duff's teeth on them, which is unsettling. Because another experience in this set was published at the same time, I was able to find it, but from the recently published tab, which will go away. This one is also interesting, but on its own, underwhelming. If they had scaled up the model that's right in the center here, it could have been really cool. OSUVOX Disco. Get started with Over Kiosk. Our pal over at winecountrynft built a well-written user guide for newbies to the Over universe. I'll link that below for sure in case you want to read it. In this AR publication, occlusion almost worked. The program looks as though it's trying to make a backdrop to the objects in my apartment. The best way I can show you what was happening is this footage where I stepped out onto my balcony. Out in the open air, the perimeter is unobstructed. Then you can see it intersect or end where it butts up against the wall. Let's check it out with occlusion turned off. By the way, if you can't find this function, you are probably in landscape mode. These functions only appear when the phone is held upright. Okay, so as expected, without occlusion, the experience is entirely VR. Good thing I wasn't in a headset because I would have had my first seizure, and I definitely would have gotten motion sickness. I think on a phone, it works out all right. If the point of this publication is to get people to want to read the document, I'm not sure it achieves that. It's definitely a grand celebration of this piece of work, but the design pulls the eye to the outer edges of the experience rather than directing the eye to the centerpiece. In an ideal world, I would want this space to explain to me why this document is so cool. I already knew what I was looking for, but I don't think that somebody who just stumbled upon this would know what this is or why they'd want to read it. When I do hit the link, it logs me in through my Google account in order to read it. In the future, I probably wouldn't share something through Google for that reason. I think a lot of users would find it alarming for their Google account to flash on their page in this setting. I would find a way to go to a website that has just the PDF or some other way that's not bringing people through their own account. Not that there is any danger to that at all. I just think that some people would have a red flag go off. It's cool to find this Over space to celebrate the Over document he created, and I definitely think you should give it a read, especially if you're new to Over. Fallinggarden by luxvr. The only thing I would change in here is find a way to get the shadows to fall on the ground more consistently. Like the cactus build they did that I loved so much, ranked it so highly on the best of 2022 list, the magic is in the simplicity. It feels delicate and grandiose at the same time, like fine jewelry. I'm witnessing these simple animations and the primary color story and personally feel drawn to this artwork. A lot of cool things can be accomplished with just a handful of models. I think this is a good example of that. Also, with all of this negative space, you can actually hop into the experience on the other side of the screen, even without an occlusion function. These builds always make me want to get on the floor like a child, which is very humbling and fun. Voxel Rooms by Kafakoin. This one is so stinking cute. I haven't spent a lot of time in voxel environments, but this one makes me nostalgic for Legos. It references many cultural icons, so it's going to pull at a lot of heartstrings from many different people. This is a great use case for AR because there is no better way to explore a detailed 3D model like this. AR is the only way to bring digital models into the real world without having to physically construct them. There's lots of joy here. It gives me dollhouse voyeurism. It's full of surprise and delight. 10 out of 10. Puerta Estelar by Atuagenda. This structure is simple, ominous, and it defies earthly physics. It's fun to walk under these stairs. Again, we've got a playful build that invites me to change my normal way of moving. As a person here to film, it was challenging to get a good angle. Over here, I noticed the icon for a model that didn't load properly. It's just kind of hanging out over here. I wonder if they know about it and what it was supposed to be. Touch Me by daxx. There was another build with the same name, same song, and same artist. I ranked it very highly in my best of 2022 video. This seems to be a pared down version, isolated to just one model. I'm still loving the song, and in this experience, there's a ton of empty space. It feels less like an immersive experience and more like an overlay to the world. It inspired me to have a little party. Open Your Mind by Abramopiu. I chose this one because it had a bold name, and I love a good LiDAR scan. But then my mind had to be really open because nothing loaded at all. Although it said there were 2 other people here, 3 counting myself. I'd like to think that this is an intentional joke, but if it isn't and there's a glitch afoot, trust me when I say this app is getting more and more stable all the time. I only had one experience crash during the entire recording of this session, and it's great to see progress like that. Also by Abramopiu is this park world that they've titled Test. The land name for this piece is so appropriate. Metro Manicures Contrast. I feel like a park inside of a city is a manicured contrast to something you see in a metropolitan area. Is that too far of a leap? It has a great balance of positive and negative space. And there's consistent styling, except for when it comes to the audio equipment, which shows a reverence for this form of art. Here I witnessed my first wolf fountain. If they can animate water flowing here, they should. Water features are an easy selling point. Music was poppin', it slaps, so fun, but I have to be careful using it because I'm sure it is copyrighted and I don't want to infringe on anything. In the future, I wouldn't be surprised if Over found a way to give us permission to use pop songs, a similar way that TikTok does. A better version of the future is an integration with NFT rights to songs. Use of smart contracts in the music space streamlines our access to music as art, especially when we're trying to get permission to use songs for different publications. When it's decentralized, there's fewer hands in the pot and a larger percentage goes to the artists themselves. I love my Spotify, but with bureaucracy comes overhead. But that's a whole tangent for another day. I am looking forward to integrations with NFT music that'll make it easy to pay artists for the rights to use their work in publications such as these. I hope you enjoyed my review. I'm so curious what your takeaways are. Please do us a favor and pop into the comments. What do you think are the best practices for AR? Which experiences are you loving right now? What do you hope to see for this technology in the coming year? If you like, subscribe, and comment, thank you so much. It's a great way to support the channel. As always, Fractal Labs is here to build the app of your dreams.
I'm wondering where all of the interactive builds are. At the end of the year, I found a bunch of starts to games and starts to interactive pieces. Cyber Nerd Baby has completed quite a few, but it seemed like there were some other emerging interactive builders out there, and I can't wait to bump into them. The way that the recent tab works only allows me to go back to the last 2 weeks, so if they're not published in the 2 weeks before I film, then I can't view them. But you can send me recommendations.
I'll see you in the next video, which comes every single Tuesday. Bye!